Welcome to Wrike 101 Basic Features. In this video, we're going to be talking about some of the basic functionality to help you get started right away. In this Wrike account, everything is boiled down to folders and tasks, so there's nothing overwhelming or complicated about it. We're going to be creating a folder to create a project. Company is the name of our account, so this is where we right-click to add our first folder. Our project today is going to be creating a website. You may like to break your projects down into different phases or into different categories to better organize the tasks. And we can do this by right-clicking on our project and adding subfolders below. My first one is going to be the pre-planning. My second is going to be the design. And finally, I'll have the launch. Your folders are listed alphanumerically by default, so enumerating them here helps me have them listed in the nice chronological order that I want. Next is adding the tasks. I simply click on the folder that I want to add them to, and there's 3 different methods with which to add. I can use the omnipresent plus in the upper left-hand corner, the new task button here in the center, or for those folks that like to keep their fingers on the keyboards at all time, even some keyboard shortcuts. Let's use the button here in the middle, and whether it's a folder or a task, the first step is always giving it a name. I know that I want to start out this whole project with a brainstorm session to help solicit ideas from my team members. And click on the new task button here to create a couple others. I know that we're going to want to finalize the colors. I think that we should get new staff pictures. And that's all the ideas that I have right now for this phase, but I can always come back and add them at a later point. Let's look at the more granular details of the tasks next. Clicking on the brainstorm session, in the right pane we have the task details. We're looking inside of it now. We can see the name. Below that is where it's located, so we can always understand the project that a task is related to. Below that are the statuses that are built into Wrike. Currently, this one is set to active. I can change it by selecting any of them from this drop-down. I now want to get my task assigned. I need it to show up on the to-do list of not only myself, and I'm acting as rough today, but also the other team members that need to participate in this meeting. That's going to be Vincent, Max, Maggie, and Carrie. To the right here, we can see when and by whom this task was created. And documentation is a huge trend within the program. You're going to notice it more and more as we go through. I can now get this task scheduled. There's 3 different types of tasks to choose from. They all have different characteristics. So first is backlogged. The characteristic of this is no dates. This task works perfect for those someday tasks, something that you'll get around to maybe when you have time, or maybe I'm just not sure of the dates for it just yet. Backlogged also works really well for storage, so if you have a lot of supporting documents and you want more of a repository, backlogged won't show up on your to-do list or clutter up your timeline. You can just interact with them as needed. If I move to the right and click on today, tomorrow, or next week, this is considered a planned task. It's something that does have a start and a due date. Now I can interact with the dates directly. I could change the overall duration of this task to a matter of days, hours, and/or minutes. I could even use the time slider here to make changes. Honestly, it's whichever method you prefer, as they will all do the same thing. The third type of task is a milestone, and this is characterized by a single date. It's perfect for the landmarks or milestones in the course of your project. Think of it like the official start, maybe a 50% marker, and then the deadline, due date, or absolute launch of this project. Since this is the kickoff meeting, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as a milestone, but I'm going to schedule this for tomorrow. Hit OK. The next button is my timer for tracking time that's spent on this task, so I don't have to be too menial in my scheduling. If I hit the play button, the timer starts. Entry up here at the top makes it nice and easy to track the time that is being spent. It's being tracked in hours and/or minutes. Could hit pause when I go to lunch, play when I come back. You can also add manual entries. So I could say that I just spent 20 minutes doing a quick shopping trip to pick up snacks for the meeting. Go ahead and add my entry, and by leaving a comment like this, it helps distinguish specifically what this time was spent on. It can make my time entries more meaningful if I need to go back and review them or maybe distinguish billable and non-billable hours. This next button here is for attaching files, and Wrike should be your online work hub. All of your supporting documents should be accessible directly from here. You shouldn't have to go searching through your inbox, through your drive, or anywhere else. We have integrations that allow you to bring in any supporting files, whether they're on your computer, Google Drive, Dropbox, and/or Box. If something is coming directly from your computer, you can drag and drop it from your desktop, or click here, as I know I want to bring in this Go Play document for some ideas in this meeting. The next button here in our task is for adding dependencies, and their main purpose is to dictate sequencing between tasks. This is a little bit more formal project management, and as I'm not sure of the exact order that I want my tasks to be accomplished in just yet, I'm not going to worry about this until a later point. This is a snapshot into our timeline view, which is something that will be covered in the third segment of the more advanced features of Wrike. Moving over to the farther right, we cover sharing. And this is a very important concept within Wrike, as sharing equals seeing. Because something is shared with you, you can access it when logging into Wrike. We do have the ability of selective sharing so that you can control what people have access to. Within the window that is open, it breaks out the context as well. So I can see the folder, therefore the project in its entirety is shared with Ralph. Whereas the individual task, just the brainstorm session, is shared with these four folks. So Ralph has a higher level of contextual access. To take this step further is called following. Now following is in the upper right hand corner. The followers, by default, are going to include the author, so whoever created the task, which is Ralph, and whoever it is actively assigned to. Followers could also be thought of as stakeholders. These are people that are going to receive email notifications from Wrike whenever changes are made to this task, so they always stay in the loop. Email is usually the most common way that people collaborate and interact with their peers, and so we wanted to make use of that but improve upon it. Often information can get buried in multiple threads, or maybe people aren't always CC'd. We make sure that Wrike provides you with that central hub for all information to be documented, and that the followers are automatically notified with any extra steps. What's more is when you receive a notification, here's an example of one that I got. This is regarding the brochures redesign project, and it's a task asking me to suggest artwork for front page. I can see all the details directly in my inbox. I could select the button here to open this task in Wrike, or, as it says here, I can reply to this email to add a comment, meaning I don't even have to log into the program in order to provide feedback. What I need here is a little bit more detail. And go ahead and hit send. That's going to be immediately posted to the task, but I don't have to log in order to do so. Now coming back over to our task here, I want to touch on the description box. We're going to move farther south in our task here. This description box is like an online document. It updates live, and it's a really fun collaborative space. What I'm going to do for this task, as it's a meeting, is create a space where all of my team members can log in and add their notes directly. This way, no one person has to be responsible as the minute taker, which I find is a very kind gesture and a great way to start off a project. If you've ever worked in an online document forum, you'll understand that one of the features is that as multiple people are selected within this space, I can see a color stylus per person. I'll be able to see their name and even watch them type. There's all sorts of different formatting within this option. I could incorporate some color if I feel the need, which I usually do. We can incorporate lists, bullet points, links, images, tables, even checklists for our different action items. Maybe Max is one of them. And then there's a revision history here. Think track changes, where we can scroll back in time and look at any and all updates that were ever made to the program. Next on the list is where this file is being housed, or the repository. We have a very cool web dev feature that allows you to do easy versioning of Office documents directly from Wrike. So any Word, Excel, or even PowerPoint file that's attached here, you hover over and you'll see this handy pencil. Clicking on it, your file is going to open up. You can make whatever changes are needed. Hit save and a new version is automatically added to Wrike. That entire interaction was just captured online, which means at no point do you have to download the file to your local machine. It makes the interaction super fast. Now, any non-Office documents that you need to work with, so different images, media files, even PDFs, you would choose to download it so you can open it in the appropriate editor, whether that's Photoshop, Acrobat. You'd make your appropriate changes and select here to upload the new version. That ensures that clicking on the file, you always get the most updated version by default. But when there are multiple, via a drop down here, you can still access them all. Below the repository, we have the activity stream for the task, and thus far, it's been tracking all of the different changes that I've been making to this task. Nothing is done without it being noted here, so this is a great place to track the progress that has been made. I can add comments directly to this. And remember, you can reply to notifications in order to add comments directly here as well. Now that we have this task created, scheduled, and even assigned, let's go ahead and close this panel. And we're going to move back into the center pane here. I have the additional options of scheduling out these other tasks. Maybe I know that we want to start with the brainstorm session. Next, we can finalize the colors, and we'll do that next Monday, Tuesday. And I can even elect to work on the new staff pictures maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday. I also need to get these tasks assigned. So I know that Vincent is going to work on the new staff pictures as he's a fantastic photographer. And let's go ahead and have myself, Ralph, and Maggie work on these color finalizations. Now, remember what we had talked about in terms of the sharing. Currently, we can see that the task is still individually shared with Maggie, whereas Ralph is the only person that sees this at the folder level. And that's a problem because I want to make sure that this team sees all of the different action items that we have in store. So in order to share at the folder level, I am going to right-click on my Create a Website folder. One of the options that's in here, the second one down, is to share this folder. When I click on it, I can select from my user list all of the different people. There's even a handy selection of those I interact with most. I know that I want Vincent, Max, Maggie, and Carrie, all of my team members, to see this. I simply make sure that we're all highlighted and hit done. Now they all have access to it. Let's go back into the brainstorm session task. When you share at the folder level, it's going to be inherited down to the tasks. I just need to do a quick refresh to make sure that it's applied. Dun dun dun! For my next magical trick, we can now see that the folder is all shared with these folks. Pretty cool, huh? When you share a higher level folder, everything inside of it is automatically shared. So it's very easy to be inclusive. You could share at the individual task level. I could share just the pre-planning phase if needed, or, as we've done here, share the whole thing. There's no limit to the number of folders or tasks that you can create, so this can be one of multiple projects, or it can be the only one that you're working on for now. You may also want to create a little folder for yourself where you can add all of your personal tasks to. I know that I need to go grocery shopping this week, so maybe I'll start my list here of different things that I know I need. What better place to have all of my personal action items as well as all of my work action items than in one easy to access place? That concludes what we're going to be covering today, but tune in for the next video to cover some more of the advanced features in Wrike, which will include using of this dashboard.